Yeah, very good morning, everyone, to all present in this webinar on workplace safety in tea industry. I would like to welcome all in the audience, along with our speakers, council members, our certified members, our implementation partners for joining us today morning, the webinar on workplace safety in tea industry. So, as you can see, I have presented the agenda for today's webinar. So, we'll start off with the welcome address, which we have already started off with. We'll follow that up with the deliberation of on the role of trustee towards workplace safety that will be taken by our director, Mr. Rajesh Bhuiyan. Following that, we'll start off with the speaker introduction and we'll move over to the dignitary speaking on workplace safety. And I would like to invite Mr. Rajesh Bhuiya to speak about the deliberation of trustee towards workplace safety. Sir, over to you.
Thank you, Dipanjan. Good morning, everyone, and I'm very happy and glad to see that people have turned up in large numbers to join the webinar. Very crucial topic. We have close to 90 people already inside the meeting. If you look at the trustee program, we have three key pillars, which we know you all might be knowing, and it's on the screen, on the top of the screen. That's environment, safety, and livelihoods. Now, safety here has two facets. One is safety of the people, and other very important facet is the safety at the workplace. Now, the tea industry is a very labor-intensive industry, where a large number of people work in one place, very difficult and diverse terrains, and in factories also. And so, as a program which looks at the sustainability aspect holistically, because trustee believe that for an operation to be sustainable, the people are the ones who people are at the core of everything that we do for sustainability. And if we look at it holistically, we do not look at sustainability as a stand-alone. We look at sustainability being holistically taken through the participation of the community, participation of the people in the supply chain, particular stakeholders, and it is all together that pull the industry to a bright future. Now, as we know that trustee is tea is a agri commodity, and it is basically primarily commercial cultivation, right? So, which means that there are a large number of people who work day in, day out, interact with the environment, interact with machinery, and because of that, there is a certain risk involved in the day-to-day work. Now, trustee wants to bring system and focus to how we approach the subject of safety and try and work with our certified entities to create a deep and lasting safety framework for operation so that people are always safe. So the priority of our focus is always people. Now we also have another important focus, that is legal compliance. So trustee also makes it as a priority to see to it that the legal requirements related to workplace safety are adhered to, and the other one is taking actions from our side to make safety the fundamental goal of the operations day. This might sound a bit disconcerting that people will think, oh, we thought of people making profits, but then profits do not come without safe and happy people. And therefore, it is important that the people become partners in our operations and they become partners in operations when we create a safe and nice work for them, where there is empathy and they understand that the operation looks at their safety as a priority. Now, when I say the operation looks at their safety as a priority, I mean that the employee also has the own responsibility to ensure that there is safety. The employers and the organization have a responsibility to make sure that there is safety in the day-to-day operation. So, there are certain unfortunate incidents happen, and we are trying to create a situation where we look at preventive measures. taking action after the incident and doing corrective action is actually a part of what we do for safety. But the best option is, of course, we know prevention is the best cure. And the focus of trustee program is to develop capability, develop training, work with our implement partners, to work actively with our entities who are already certified or not to be certified, to make sure that we develop a safe working environment by approaching it in a and people focused way. So that is the approach we are doing. There's a lot more to do, and the trustee code, you all might be aware, has been majorly revised, and the revised code is in the public domain since July, and we are looking at a sharper focus on safety. The other important thing is that trustee today looks as an organization with an accountability to the tea industry and the community. And therefore, we feel that monitoring and evaluation of our impact, which is known as MLE in development world parlance, is very important. And we take the MLE topics related to safety very, very seriously. We are going to work with everybody. We will take it as our accountability to create capability and the environment so that a trustee verified entity can proudly say that my workplace is safe. So that's the goal of trustee, which needs all your support and all your work to make it happen. I'm very glad to say that we have crossed 100, we have 102 participants. And this is one of the highest participation in a trustee webinar, which is a testimony to the fact that all of you think that workplace safety is very important for us. So thank you very much. We have a range of very important industry speakers. We want to listen to the voice. We have an excellent expert also, and I'll hand over to Dipanjan to start off the proceedings.
Thank you, sir. It gives me immense pride to take the audience through our lineup of our speakers that we have today for the webinar.
Video enable ಮಾಡಬೇಕು video enable ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಏನು zoom start video
Yeah.
long ಅನ್ನು ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ ಅಂತ ಜಾಯಿನ್ ಮಾಡೋದು ಜಾಯಿನ್ ಮಾಡಿ
We can't hear.
ಎನ್ನೇ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಜಾಯಿನ್ ಮಾಡಿದೆ.
I hope my screen is visible to all.
Yeah, screen is visible, but
well, you can't hear because you wasn't saying anything. But
no, I was actually not saying anything. So let me take you all through our lineup of our speakers that we have today. Joining us as guest industry speakers in our webinar, we have Mr. Saikat Basu, CEO and Chief Mentor, Consultivo. He's a long-time sustainability professional and a passionate trainer. He's a mechanical engineer by profession with more than 30 plus years of experience into manufacturing industry, service industry, research organization, and engineering infrastructure projects.
the Panjan slide is not moving.
No, I'm just saying, I'll move, don't worry.
no, the Soikat's profile is not on the screen, I think. Yeah, it's up. Keep on speaking.
I hope it's visible.
Yeah, now it's visible.
So Mr. Saikat Basu is Chief CEO and Chief Mentor from Consultivo. He's a long-time sustainability professional and a passionate trainer. He is a mechanical engineer by profession with 30 plus years of experience into manufacturing industries, service industries, research organization, and engineering infrastructure projects. And for the last 2 decades, he has been working on business sustainability initiatives, ESG, environmental, social and governance, occupational health and safety, environmental protection, social responsibility, and business ethics. He has worked with more than 2,400 organizations globally in more than 20 plus countries as executor, assessor, consultant, and trainer. He has worked with numerous national and international OHS related codes, standard protocols, guidelines, and is a product architect of Consultivo Safety Culture and System Maturity Protocol, SMILE. He has also worked as a subject matter expert on many international standard development and adaptation projects. He also possesses years of hands-on experience in audit and assurance system design, protocol development, planning, execution, and system improvement. His passion is to develop individuals, teams, and organization in leadership, excellence, and success, helping them be more, do more, achieve more. He is a member of several award committees, jury boards, and a regular writer of several business and management system articles. And he has advised corporate world leaders, public sector enterprise, and many high growth companies. Thank you, Mr. Saikat Basu, for gracing us with your presence in this webinar.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, so while he's changing the slide, Sarpati is also one of the people who was closely involved when the trustee program was created. So yeah, thank you, Sarpati.
Next up, we have Mr. Harjinder Singh Kapoor, whole-time director, Sinatolia Tea Limited, Nilgiris Plantation Limited, a KK Birla Group. From KK Birla Group. He is an entrepreneurial-minded senior executive possessing more than 31 plus years of rich experience in heading plantations into tea, coffee, paper in India and abroad. His area of expertise includes managing large plantation into tea, coffee, paper in India and overseas as head of group. His experience includes hand-on work in organic and biodynamic cultivation practices, which also includes in-depth knowledge in certification standards like USDA, NOP, India Organics, NPOP, Japan JS, EU, and Demeter. Vast experience in sustainable agriculture and eco-farming practices like implementation of rainforest and fair trade standard. Given his technical background, he into agriculture graduate with post-graduation in environment and ecology. He was associated with various research and development activities and in-house trials, implementing GAP, good agriculture practices, making out health chart for plants, reviewing inputs, audits like manual requirement, etc., planning for plant protection measure, etc. He has also represented the Planters Association of Andamalai, Tamil Nadu as chairman APA. And he has also submitted research paper titled Organic Tea, Our Commitment to a Cleaner World on Organic Production Methods and Sustainable Agriculture. Thank you, Mr. Kapoor, for gracing us with your presence in this webinar. We really appreciate you taking out your time for us.
Thank you.
We'll move on to our next speaker, Mr. Anshu Shukla. He is manager, Amalgamate from Amalgamated Plantations, a Tata Enterprise, and he is currently looking after sustainability, certifications, CSR, corporate social responsibility, welfare, and compliance. Thank you, Mr. Shukla, for joining us today in the webinar.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here.
Hi, Anshu. Nice to see you here.
Good to see you too, sir.
We'll move on to our next speaker, Mr. Shubhrojit Bezbora. He is manager, Mukalbadi Kanai Tea Estate Private Limited. Mr. Shubhrojit Bezbora has joined the tea industry in 1990 and has worked in the capacity of assistant manager in both field and factory. He has a vast industry exposure of over 33 plus years and has been working as a manager since 2012. He is presently employed with Mukalbadi Kanai Group and posted as a manager in Kamakhyabadi Tea Estate. We really appreciate you taking out your time, sir, for the webinar today. Thank you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much.
And last but not the least, we'll move on to Mr. P. Salman. He is Deputy Manager, Technical and Safety Coordinator, Harrison's Malayalam Limited, HML, Wentworth Estate. Mr. P. Salman has a rich industry exposure spanning more than 22 years and is currently working with HML, Wentworth Estate as a Deputy Manager, Technical and Safety Coordinator. Thank you, Mr. Salman, for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you.
So we'll move on to our first speaker for today, Mr. Harjinder Singh Kapoor from Sinatolia, whole-time director. So would you like me to share the presentation on your behalf?
You are on mute, Mr. Kapoor.
Yes, you can.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Just make it full screen.
You can make it full screen.
Yeah, it's there.
I hope it's visible to everybody.
Yes, we can
Yes.
see.
Thank you
Over.
very much. Thank you very much. And good morning to everyone. And it's nice to see that a lot of people have come together. And like previous speaker has mentioned, the importance of this topic. And by seeing the response, I'm happy that we should work towards this safety in a workplace, which is paramount. Before I begin my presentation, basically, I like to be a little more practical in our approach because we all are very, very experienced people sitting in this webinar and the people are presenting and they have gone through these incidents and nobody would like to see even a single workman getting affected because of safety issue in the workplace. So having said that, first of all, I mean, we all, like we know, we should recognize that our assets are our people. That is the most important thing, the most important resource in any business, and especially business like tea, which is a labor intensive, we need to recognize and we should respect that our assets, our prime movers are our workers. Till we get this definition correct in our mind, we are not going to achieve whatever target we set in front of us. We all know that and we all focus towards this thing. But sometimes what happened, we need to be kept reminded to ourselves. I'm talking about myself also when I go to a tea estate, when I visit them, and I've gone through over a period of time. It is up to us while we look into other parameters which are required to set the business norm. This is also one of the paramount thing because without the presence of the right people at right place and a safe work environment, we're not going to achieve our targets there. So with that in mind, I want to begin the presentation now. Can you move on to next slide, please? Basically, I've made it a very brief presentation dividing in these 5 components. What are the principles of workplace health and safety? We're just going to touch upon. I have also designed some hierarchy of control measures to eliminate risk. I mean, what we should eliminate first so that we don't lead into a situation where it can be, a very disastrous thing which we need to face. Coming down, we have components of effective health and safety program. What could be the one which I thought I should share with you all? Most important of all those things, it is the training. Unless the workman or the workforce is trained, what is supposed to be done, what are do's and don'ts, we are not going to achieve anything there. Last but not the least, where people sometimes shy is the incident and post-incident response. See what happened, something happened. It's a natural response that we should, what the world will think about us, what will happen, but we should share because doing a post-mortem and arising where the gap is most important. Having said that, the last part should not happen at all. We all work towards that. But God forbid something happen, then we need to ensure after putting all the measures in place, what has happened which led to this thing. So with this, we like to move on to the next slide. See, there are basically, in my opinion, there are 10 functions of integral to the workers' health and safety. We need to identify and assess what is risk in our workplace. Unless we do a surveillance of the workplace, we're not going to identify the hazard. And once we identify the risk and hazard, we will be able to design a safe working place for our workmen. These things will lead further. Once we have done that, we will lead further into we have to develop certain programs which will improve the work practices. And also we need to study the equipments what we are using. See, our tea industries are age-old industries. There are many innovations which has taken place and the new equipment and machinery are coming and some are on the anvil. while it is good, we should go forward to using these things. Simultaneously, we need to assess the safety angle also, which brings along with the when the machine is bought or when the old machine is renovated, things like that. So that part should not be missed out while we improve on the work practices, keeping safety angle in mind. We need to also advise to make out the program of occupational health safety along with hygiene, which plays a very important role as far as we are concerned in the food industry. Worker health is very important because unless we have a healthy worker, we'll have a healthy mind, and that will think positively and properly whatever training and other things are given to him. Promoting adaptation to work to the worker. See what happened. This is one thing which is something sometimes we miss out. Adaptation to work is very important. Work doesn't mean what you're doing on a day-to-day basis. Work means your work environment. A worker has the right to feel that he's safe or not safe. He need to bring, we all are working towards safety, but at times we might miss out, but he will not because he's standing there day in, day out. We are looking at a various work spot. That's where it become important, the adaptation of worker to the workplace. Then we need to have organized training and education. While training is important, simultaneously imparting education side by side is very important. This will also help a trainer to develop the module professionally, because at times we can miss out certain points which a worker who's fully educated on the role, what is delivering, he can inform, and that can be inculcated into a training program. Coming forward, the first aid and emergency treatment is also an important thing, because in case some incident happen, before it become big or go out of hand, a small treatment which can be given, and then the patient or the worker can be shifted for particular treatment is required. That training, which most of us are doing, I thought we'll put it in the end of it. Then analyzing adverse condition that can lead to injury and illness. However safe workplaces, there always a lacuna or a loophole which is left behind. We need to be always on guard. We need to also introspect ourselves whether something is going wrong. Unless we start asking questions, we will cannot be complacent thinking our place is the best place. Yes, we want to have a pride that our place is the best place, but that will happen when we introspect ourselves. We can move forward, please. This is what I was mentioning, a hierarchy of control here. We need to eliminate hazard. Having said that, it is not possible to eliminate 100%, but till we make an effort to remove 100%, we will not be able to achieve the end goal. So we have to see what is the most preferred method we should use to eliminate hazard. This all will come while studying your work environment there. Removing hazard from the work area, if possible, completely. And we should use, coming back to the chemical, on reduce uses of hazardous chemical. Try going towards the green label. Just for example, like if we are spraying for a blister, we know your systemic fungicides are the best. But before the onset of a season, when the inoculum is still, it's subsidized in the environment, there we can use some biological control, some kind of predator which can reduce the inoculum. So what will happen, instead of you spraying X round in a year, you may spray X-2 or X-3 round in a year. That's the best part you're going to do for the nature and for the worker who's going to handle the chemical. Substitution is another way of exercising control in the hierarchy, that if you can, like I mentioned, substitute the more hazardous chemical with less hazardous or the least hazardous, or the one where we can use a biocontrol. Engineering of control is another angle which one should look forward, because what happened nowadays, packaging plays an important role. At times, to cut corners or cut costs, there are the containers which can cause a problem, which are not able to resist the pressure of the liquid. It may burst during transit, or it may crack, or can have holes while we're taking from point A to point B. So we need to look into all those things also when we procure such lots. The control at the workplace, that is a good manufacturing practices or good agriculture practices, goes a long way. Once we are into this, we are going to reduce the risk further. And the last line of defense remain our PPE, which is mandatory for everybody, but that's the last line of defense. If we can control on all on together, what we mentioned on top, the last line of defense will safeguard if anything is left from the top there. Next slide, please. The program, what we should make is basically consist of both employee as well as management representative. It should have the equal participation, and the feedback from the employee who is working there is very, very important and critical, because the information which they can give you will carry a lot of weightage. and it will save a lot of time for all of us there. And OHS committee can track incident reporting. Of course, their responsibility remains training and surveillance to see which PPE is effective where. See, wearing a PPE itself is not guaranteed that 100% satisfaction, whether the PPE qualifies for the job which has been given or they require certain modification. Ergonomics is another thing which we should look into that, considering the feedback which you get from the workers. And emergency response should be strong in case of that unfortunate event, how we can have our rescue act put together without wasting much of the time. Next slide, please. We all know the importance of OHS committee. I thought I'll just put it as a reminder to all of us, including me, that we need to promote the culture of safety and good work practices. That is paramount. It cannot get over in a day or so. It is a part of day-to-day job. Whenever we go out, whenever we check our work spot, this thing has to be imbibed and inculcated very clearly within ourselves. Works to reduce injuries, illness, incidents can translate definitely into cost saving for the organization. We can have a reduction in various form, and also the cost of inducting a new employee in case of unfortunate event is also very high, and losing a human life is paramount. That has got no replacement in terms of any money which you can spend. Next slide, please. Training, which I want to emphasize more and more here, this goes on hand to hand, and we need to have a good foolproof training schedule which should be flexible. We cannot have the one training schedule made out in a beginning of the year and we continue. There will be changes because based on the discussion with the team, based on the incident which has happened, and based on the requirement of the job. Sometimes what happens, some new equipment comes in, a new machinery comes in, you need to have a training for that also. So it requires periodic refreshers. We need to have the right kind of a people selected from your present team. No need to take from outside, I'll say, because your team has got a lot of talented people. They have gone through these things. They have handled these equipments and training. They can become a good trainer, and they can pass on the mental to other one. And this will be an in-house or inbuilt system, which will be long-lasting thing. Okay. Next slide, please. Continuing on a training, this increasing in awareness about hazard at workplace is very important, because hazards also today what we term as a hazard, tomorrow there's something new which can pop up. So we need to be a little careful and aware what could be hazard in case we missed out something. We need to outline all the emergency procedures very clearly. It should be well documented, well demonstrated in the workplace. In case of fire, which all the routes you to take. In case of any other accidents, or in case of any medical requirement, which are the numbers we need to contact. All should be displayed, because during emergency your mind doesn't work fast. It goes into the area where your eye of sight goes. So we need to keep those places in such a way that is visible during a time of stress. Education, providing training and refresher training, I've already touched upon, cannot be left out. These are part and parcel of day-to-day life, whether it is a business or when you talk about a training in a workplace. Next slide, please. This is little important and little touchy subject, I'll say, incident reporting. See what happened initially, any incident happen, we like to keep it internally among ourselves only, because of the fear what will happen, how the world will take around. There's no shy in this procedure. One need to admit if something has happened, it is a misfortune, because you have taken full care of the thing. We need to understand the gap after taking full care, full precaution, how this incident has happened. And then we need to close the gap and share with the community. Why I'm saying share with the community? Because it may happen there. So before it happened, if we informed everybody, we could have saved some valuable life there. So this becomes very important, and it is a part of OHS committee that who's heading there, and the people that incident reporting should be done. Next slide, please. With that, I just like to conclude by saying that these are very, very basic things, but the problem lies in the implementation. We all go with a fresh mind, with a positive mindset that yes, we will do it. We will ensure this. Our workplace is the cleanest, it is safest. At times we miss out, but we should not lose our heart till you and your work team and your workforce are proactive. They are focused along with the work, taking this as a part of the daily routine. I'm sure we're going to improve day by day. Thank you very much for giving this time. I'm thankful to Trustee for that the platform, so that we can share our views here.
Thank you, thank you. We appreciate you taking us through such a detailed presentation, sir. And if anybody in the audience has any question, please feel free to drop your questions in the chat box. We'll take all questions up at the end of the session. Thank you, sir, for your presentation.
Thank you.
We'll
very
now move on to the next speaker. Mr. Saikat Basu. Mr. Basu, would you like to share or would you want me to share on your behalf?
Yeah, I'll try to share first. If it doesn't work, then you can
Absolutely, absolutely.
give me 30 seconds. I'll just try to share screen. Should I share the desktop one?
Yeah, open it first and then.
Yes, sir. You open the presentation first.
Yeah, presentation is open.
Yeah, excellent. We can see it, Saikat.
Oh, you
Yes.
can see that. Great.
It
Fine.
will-
Yeah. Can you see the full screen now?
No.
It's gone again.
It's done again, but to me the full screen is available.
There we will.
Just reshare once, sir.
Is it fine?
Not yet come up.
Not yet. Okay. I'll
Would you
just
like-
reshare. Yeah, I'll reshare again quickly.
Yeah.
Can you see this?
No.
No. Then it's better to please share it from there.
Okay, okay.
Let us not waste time. Yeah.
Yeah. You haven't shared in the.
I hope it's
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
Over to you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, trusted team, for giving me and other colleagues an opportunity to speak in front of, I think I can see 108 people are there. In fact, there are more possibly for this particular session. And first of all, I must appreciate and congratulate Mr. Kapoor for giving a very detailed and fantastic presentation on the implementation. I think if you go through Mr. Kapoor's slides, he will share it possibly. Then the implementation, whatever he said, I think that is more than enough for the tea industry. Fortunately, I am associated with the tea industry sustainability factors like quality, environment, safety since almost last 20 years, 2004 onwards. I am associated with that, and I have seen the transformation. I have seen how tea industry has come up on the overall sustainability issues, including occupational health and safety. In fact, first thing came quality, then environment, and then the occupational health and safety movement started in tea industry, entire plantation as well as in manufacturing units. It's a huge journey. I have seen the journey, and I must congratulate the industries for coming from X to Y. But now question is the why, that means the level you have reached today, whether it is enough, whether it is adequate, and whether it is sustainable. These three questions are very vital questions, and that's why I gave this the name as Stop, Think and Act. So you need to think. You need what you are doing, whatever you are doing a great job, but you need to stop mentally and think that whether whatever I am doing on safety, occupation, today we are talking about occupational health and safety, whether this is adequate, this is relevant for today's perspective, and whether this is sustainable. Whatever I am doing, whether I am doing it for a long time or I am doing it for a particular period or for a particular time. So these are the challenges in front of the tea industry. 20 years back or even 10 years back, the challenge was knowledge, that what to do, how to do. how to implement the national and international good practices or safety good practices being practiced in other industries to implement it in tea industry. That was the challenge 10 years back or 15 years back. Knowledge, there were depth of knowledge, but today there is absolutely no depth of knowledge. There is no lack of knowledge. People know what to do, how to do. The legal requirements are there. The trustee code is there. It is very explicit and detailed code, trustee, and legal requirements are there. In fact, if you maintain the legal requirements, possibly 50% of the occupational health and safety requirements are taken care. Then the trustee code is there. And then there are plethora of standards, codes, guidelines available. So there is no depth of knowledge. So today the challenge is different. So what is the challenge? The challenge is to maintain the occupational health and safety system and to take it in a next lap or next level. So first of all, I should start my presentation with one single or two words. One is called care and another is called respect. In fact, if we have to develop a proper occupational health and safety system in my organization or in your organization, the first thing is to develop is a safety culture. And that's what is my topic today. And I am going to talk about the safety culture. We all know safety culture. We have heard about it. We have used it in certain cases. But let me share how it can be done very simply in a simple way and what are the obstacles or challenges in building a safety culture. Can you go to the next slide? Yeah, right. So I start my presentation with two words, as I said, respect and care. So what is respect and care? Before that, coming to respect and care, let me ask you one very simple question. What is the most precious thing you possess? And the answer is life always. That's the most precious thing we possess. Everybody on earth possesses that life. And what is the next precious possession? It's family. It's our family. So me and my family, that's the world, and that's the starting point of the world. And then the entire community, extended family, community, society, earth, mother earth, it is extended. But without life and my close surrounding, nothing is going to happen. And an accident or incident or accident, I'm not going to the definition of accident incident today, can disrupt your life and ruin your family. So imagine, instead of thinking that I will protect people, you just think about protecting yourself. If you cannot protect yourself, then what will happen to you? What will happen to your family? The same thing is going to happen for the people who are going to be affected by any of the incidents happening within your organization or beyond your organization. So from here, can we go to the next one? The starting point of safety is respect and care. If we respect for human life and if we care for my people means just like my family, it is my extended family in my organization, the other people in the organization, my colleagues. So if I respect human life and care for my colleagues, then workplace safety culture begins here. So that's the starting point of any workplace safety culture, implementation of workplace safety culture, bringing the culture of respect and care. And when we talk about respect and care, obviously, it starts with organization culture, because safety culture is directly proportional to the organization culture. I'll come to the next slide for that. Yeah, please. So when we say respect and care in one hand, then in other hand, when we talk about the right of a person, here worker means any person working within the organization. Here worker doesn't only mean the work persons directly working in the field, any person within the organization who is working on behalf of the organization. So the right of worker, if you see the ILO requirement, Safety Convention, Safety and Health Convention, the right of worker is very clear. Receive adequate information on occupational health and safety, and the right to consult representative organizations. Receive appropriate training. Require to be inquire and be consulted on all OSH aspects. Report any imminent and serious danger. And this last point is very critical. Right not to return to a work situation where there is a continuing imminent and serious danger. So right to say no, right to say no to unsafe jobs, unsafe work, unsafe situations, unsafe practices. So this is globally accepted ILO Safety and Health Convention, and most of our legal requirements are coming from this. You can say this is the origin of the legal requirements of any country. Legal requirements, you know, the Plantation Labor Act, the Factories Rules, Factories Act, all these are there. But this is the basic of all those legal requirements. So this is very, very critical. So in one hand, it is a right to a person who is working in the organization. It is a legal right. It is a national and international right. And on the other hand, it is the culture of the organization which sets a trend or approach towards care and respect. Can you move to the next one? Now, what are the major occupational health and safety hazards in a tea industry? In fact, Mr. Kapoor has already talked about the controls of this thing. You know very well, you know much better than me or any specialist, the cut to hands, legs, feet, falls, sprains, fractures, injury from cutting tools, hazards from moving machinery, particularly in the factory, but now with mechanization and plantation also, these are the requirements. Exposure to harsh climatic conditions, a snake or insect bite. So all the exposure to agrochemicals, working hours, infectious and parasitic diseases, and two very important but next level hazards, the MSD, musculoskeletal injuries, as well as psychosocial hazards like stress, harassment, insecurity, etc. So the first few are very common hazards. We take care or we set controls on this. And last two, the MSD or ergonomic issues and psychosocial hazards are the new generation hazards, which we try to take care in few of the organizations, but many of the organizations still fall short to exercise control on this. I just gave to you, these are very common situations day to day, but I just gave one simple situation. On the left hand side, you will find the work is being done, and the right hand side, the same work is being done in a systematic way. So the right hand side is obviously more safe, but instead of saying safe, don't you think the right hand side is much more productive, much more giving a much better brand image to the company or to the factory? It is being produced. It is much more easier for people to work. It can attract better workforce. So all these direct and indirect developments are happening once you take care of the occupational health and safety requirements on a particular area. So this is so simple. This is not at all resource oriented, but it is very less resources required. But the picture says it's possible. If we think, if we stop, think and act, we can change the left-hand situation to the right-hand situation. And that's the power of thinking. And that's the power of culture. To set a culture, you need to think that how I can make this place better for my people with respect and care. Developing a safety at workplace. This slide is absolutely irrelevant now after Mr. Kapoor's presentation, that you develop a core team, then you would all know HERA is the core or epicenter of the entire occupational health and safety system. The better the HERA, the better the system. The better or more practical the HERA, the better the system. So HERA is very, very critical, and for that a very good team involved people, those are required, but that's a separate discussion altogether. Can we move to the next slide? Yeah. So after saying all these things, this is the concluding slide for the first part of my presentation, that safety culture is required, and safety culture is required with respect and care, and safety culture is directly proportional to organization culture. You may like my statement, you may not like my statement, but by showing a poor safety show, you are showing a very poor culture of your organization. If your organization culture is good, your safety culture will automatically be good, because there is no depth of knowledge. So the organization's culture shapes its safety culture. So if you set your organization culture better, your safety culture will be better. And the culture of it is the culture of respect and care. Now, what exactly the safety culture is having? Generally, safety culture takes care of 3 areas, because safety culture is all about human person. It is individual characteristic which we get from our generic. It is a generic characteristic, inherent attributes. It's a societal factors are there, like upbringing, societal influence, and then organizational factors are there. Those are leadership, climate, culture, and perception. In fact, first 2 factors, individual characteristic and societal factor, we cannot change practically. It is next to impossible to change individual characteristic and societal factor. We can only influence to some extent with certain administrative control. But organizational factors are very, very important, which we can really manage, which we can really control. Other 2, first 2 we can influence, but later 4, that means leadership, climate, culture, and perception, we can control. So let's see what are the leadership, climate, culture, and perception elements. Under leadership, it's management commitment, goals and objectives, management credibility. Management credibility, commitment is a very easy word. I commit to this. I am committed for this. But credibility, am I doing that? What I am committing, am I doing that? If I do that, so then I am credible. My words are credible. My activities are credible. And very critically, very, very important, recognition and performance. This recognition and performance, leadership in this area is very, very important. We have, as a consulting company, we have worked with more than 100 companies to develop or build safety cultures. We have seen the recognition, gives a real bounce in the entire system. Recognition and performance. The safety performance, its recognition, reward and recognition system is a very, very critical factor in leadership. Can you go to the next? Under climate, the conditions are important, because the condition actually gives you, or let's say stimulate you to do a particular job. In a very clean area, you won't throw your garbage there, in a very clean area. But in a dirty area, you will easily, the same person will easily throw the garbage. So the climatic conditions, climate means here cultural climate, condition is very important, because those are leading to human behaviors. Then the next point is culture. Culture, whatever we are doing for a long time, and particularly for a very conservative industry like tea industry, which is more than 100 years old. It's a very old industry. In fact, Assam is possibly celebrating 200 years of tea industry. So then their culture in tea industry, what dastur, jo chalta hai, whatever is happening there is very, very important. So you need to be patient to change the culture, and it will take, if 200 years or 100 years or 50 years have been taken to set a particular culture, And if you need to moderate it or transform it, you also need to give time. So your plans and whatever you are doing, it should be short term, mid term, and long term. And long term means here I say at least 5 years. So establish your system for at least 5 years. So it will set a culture for your organization. And finally, the perception. Perception matters. Whatever you are doing, what other people is thinking. So I am speaking now in front of you. My perception is something, okay, everybody understand my words, but that may not be true. What you think about my words, what you think about whatever I am telling, that is also very important. So try to establish a model or try to establish a process or tool which will take the feedback or mindset or thoughts or perceptions of the people who are recipient of your system. So these are the major pillars. And one more important point, that we all are giving a stress on accidents or incidents, near misses. But for ensuring a safety culture, we need to go deeper. We need to go for unsafe conditions, unsafe acts, and behavior of people. So unsafe act, unsafe condition, there are certain examples. This slide is free to distribute. So you can get a lot of examples here. Yeah, can you go to the next slide? So finally, this is another very important slide for safety culture, setting safety culture, that this pyramid, there are many names of this, I'm not going to the jargons, but finally at the bottom of the pyramid are unsafe acts and conditions. So if we can really identify and control at the unsafe act and condition level, it will reduce the near misses, that will reduce minor injury, that will reduce severe injury, and finally fatality. So my suggestion to all of you is to, instead of focusing only on up to near miss level, please focus on the unsafe act and condition level. Right. So, and research indicates that over 90% of the injuries are caused by unsafe acts. So please focus on unsafe acts. Can we move to the next one? And that's the change. You have to make a change. It's the change that matters, that ultimate aim to have zero harm. So zero harm to me, to my near and dear ones, to my colleagues, to anybody working on behalf of the organization, and for my family too. Right? And these are the elements like leadership, employee hazards, education, training. So it's a kind of wrap-up slide. You can identify that these elements are required to set in. And that's it from my part. So my request is to think about making safety a core value and celebrate life in a safe way. So that's it from my part. Sorry, possibly I have exceeded by 2 minutes. Any question, please feel free to ask me through the process, through the board. Over to Trustee Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Basu, for a very unique perspective from the safety angle. Thank you for sharing the presentation with us. We'll now move on to the, thank you. We'll now move on to the next speaker, Mr. P. Salman from Harrison's Malayalam Limited. Mr.
Yeah,
Salman,
thank you.
would you like to share from your end?
Yeah, I will try to share.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Salman.
Is it okay?
Yes.
Yeah, a very good morning to all present. I am Salman from Harrison's Malayalam Limited in Jodha State. First of all, I would like to appreciate the trustee team to select this topic, important topic, workplace safety in the tea industry. Today, I would like to share some of the basic safety measures that has been implemented across our factories. we have started the HML safety management system. So this is a systematic approach to the safety. First, we have the policy and we review the policy, and then the goals and objectives, organize a structure, risk assessment, training, safety audits, and emergency preparedness. This is our policy. So the main core is to instill a sense of duty in every employee towards the personal safety as well as that of others who may be affected by the employee's action. Just running through. And this is the main goals and objectives of our safety management system. To achieve the target of zero accident, which is in line with the international safety concept of Mission Zero. The safety management system concept is based on the following four fundamental principles. The human life is invaluable, it is priceless, and we cannot replace it. And humans are fallible. Humans are able to make mistakes, so that we have to take into consideration while designing all our safety aspects. And that human tolerance limits are defined by the physical resistance. That is, overestimating our ability and underestimating the risk, both are not desirable. And the people are entitled to safe transport and safe workplaces. A human empathetic commitment is required from all concerned to make safety at workplace a success. This goals and objectives is in line with all the trustee and RA all bodies. And this is the management system. First one, we revise the policy and across all the factories. On the right hand side, we have got Ventures, Lockhart, Pattumala, Maladi, Mungla. And after that, the risk assessment. We have started the risk assessment in the factory and field. First, we form the team. Then we prepare the inventory from A to Z. Then we carry out the risk assessment and we define the controls and we document the controls and we implement the controls, and the effectiveness of the controls are reviewed. And after that, we move to the emergency preparedness. For that also, we have formed the team and we identify what are the possible scenarios and what are the equipments needed to act in an emergency, and who are the first aid trainers, and even who is the person switch off the power in emergency, that is also displayed. And capturing and reporting of that LTA, it's a lost time accident, RWC, restricted workplace, and the MT is a medical treatment case, minor injury, and the injury frequency rate, we are just working on that. And that audits monthly by the safety officer and in once in a quarter by the safety coordinator. So just risk assessment. This purpose of risk assessment is to identify potential problems before they occur, so that risk handling activities may be planned and invoked as needed across the life of the product or project to mitigate adverse impacts. In other words, it's a systematic process of identifying hazards and evaluating any associated risk within a workplace, then implementing reasonable control measures to remove or reduce. This is the risk assessment what we have done in our company. This is just a model. So we have all the inventories we have taken from leaf loading to the dispatch. So I'm just taking the example of that rolling. The sequence of basic steps we defined: first one, with the leaf charging, then the pressure application to the rollers, then the rolled leaf unloading, and that roller cleaning. And next is, what are the possible hazards that can happen in that operations? So there is slip and fall while feeding the with the lifter rollers, and what is the potential harm? What extent it will go? So body injury, and what are our existing machine controls? So machine guarding is already there, and we evaluated the risk. That is, we in the formula, risk rating is equal to severity into likelihood. So the yes, severity we taken in the scale of 1 to 10, and if a hazard, a harm that can cause multiple death, we'll put 10, and if it can cause a single death, then it is 8. And if it's a major injury, it's a 6. If it's a lost time accident, LT is 4. If it is a minor injury, it is 2. That is the severity what we classified. So in this operation, we have put 6. That is, if it fall from the top, then the likely is a major injury. And this likelihood it is also in a scale of 1 to 10. If it is certain or imminent, we'll put 10. If it is likely it can happen, it is 8. It is may or may not happen, we put 6 marks, 6 score. And if it is unlikely, it is 2. So when we multiply the severity in the likelihood, we will get the risk rating. So any rating above 40, we have to put additional controls. So what we've done is we have modified the machine guarding. We have modified the existing guard with the full force system of machine guarding. And even if an operator want to put his hand inside the machine also, he should not. He cannot. That's the full flow system what we follow. So these are the basic steps. And the same risk assessment we have done in the field also. So I'm just putting one activity, that's a pruning. Pruning. And the hazard and person risk is cut by moving blade operator. The potential harm is leg and hand injury. The existing control measures are using PPE and trainings. And the same, that severity and likelihood is equal to risk rating. We made a risk rating. And additional control is proper preventive maintenance of the machine. So like that, we have made all inventories from all operations from factory and field, and we made a risk assessment. And based on the risk assessment, we have put additional controls. The next element in the safety management system is the safety audits. The safety audits provide an in-depth review of workplace safety programs and are conducted for the purpose of health, safety, and fire hazard identification. When assessing safety, the objective is to identify unsafe work condition and unsafe acts. And this unsafe acts is mainly for the failure of obey rules, failure to follow procedures, bypassing the safety devices, this improper lifting, failure to use personal protective equipment, servicing running equipment, and horseplay or lack of attention. And when we take the unsafe conditions, as an inadequate machine guarding, guards will be there, but inadequate. And inadequate PPEs, defective or proper tools, the congestion in the workplace, and poor housekeeping, defective equipment, non-functional safety devices, these are coming under unsafe acts. So in the safety audit, we'll identify what are the unsafe acts and what are the unsafe condition, and then we'll work towards it. So this is an example of one safety audit. So safety audit we are doing in a 3W format. What is the unsafe condition and who is the responsibility to correct it, and when, what is the time frame. Again, I'm taking the example of one rolling room. The charging rollers, Britannia roller A1 to A6, the machine guard is there, but that is insufficient. And our action plan is a guard to be modified. We are given the priority and we are given the responsibility and we are given the what is the time frame, and we complete the status. Like that, we are doing this audit every month, and the safety coordinator will do it once in a quarter, and all adequate steps have been taken. The next element in that safety management system, what we follow, the emergency preparedness. That's the emergency plan incorporating the details of action to be taken in case of any major accident or disaster occurring inside the factory. So for that, we have formed the team, the emergency response team, and their roles and the signature book and their contact numbers. And the last we have put a driver from the outside also called Bashir, so that we'll get the support from the outside in case anything happen. And after that, we list out what are the possible scenarios that can be happen in a factory. First one is a lightning strikes, is a high discharge of electric current. For that, we have to stay away from open areas and water. Never stand under a tall and isolated tree. Next one is a fire in the factory. What has to be done? First, we have to blow the emergency siren. Then electric supply to be disconnected, and people should rush towards the safe assembly point. And the communication systems, we have to inform the fire station, higher authorities, police station, and inform the nearby estates also for help. And the first aid facility, including ambulance, and that firefighting equipments. And if it happens, the snake bite, what to do, and if it happens, bee stings, what to do. It's a vehicle accident, what to do. What are the equipments needed for the emergency preparedness? Firefighting equipment, first aid box, stretchers. Stretchers are also very important. One person falling from height, then there's a chance for the spinal injury. So better to take them in the stretchers to avoid further complication. Then the trained first aiders, we have trained first aiders are there. The name is displayed, and we have put the person who is the person switch off the power in an emergency. That also displayed and proper training is given. And I would like to share what, based on the safety management system, what and all we have implemented across our factories. First one is the risk assessment have been done for both field and factory, and potential problems identified and controls are defined. List of safety hazards identified in safety audit, action plan in place, emergency preparedness, and safety committee in place. Then all the incident, the factory and field captured a separate register, the LTA, RWC, MTC, manager, and MS accident, and mock drills are conducted at regular intervals. And we have a formal safety checklist. And that we have upgraded the substandard machine guards to a full guards. All drives are properly secured with belt guards. Conveyor roller mounts are properly secured with the guards, and pull cords which provide for the full protection of personnel working near conveyor line. Work at height, any task doing above 2 meter height that is covered under work at height. Provided the two-side handrail and stability for all crossing stairs, and pathway marked leading to the emergency exits. Safe evacuation plan, emergency exit displayed and trained to all employees. All workers have been trained first aid, both internal training and external training. Internal training with our garden doctor, and external training by St. John's Ambulance duty. No worker is allowed to put towel on shoulders, that is hazardous with exposed rotating rollers. So this is a major concern, and the reason for the accidents. People will use the loose clothes or that muffler or towel on the shoulders, and it will catch. There's a high chance it will catch the rotating parts. So we are not allowing them to wear the loose cloth or towel. And we made a mad sand containment pits in the HSC store and placed in the fuel dumps in the pits to avoid overflow. This is the statutory requirement. Prepare the inventory of earth pits and verified with a single earth diagram. So all the earth pits we are maintained properly, and we are numbered and we documented, and that we verified with a single line earth diagram. So any electrical safety switch gear or safety device to be activated, then the earth should be correct. If the continuity is not there, then all these safety switches won't work. So it is very important to maintain this earth that we are following. And the transformer yard access limited to only to the authorized person, and the yard is under lock and key. It's always under lock and key, and we displayed a board that these people only should enter the transformer yard. And I'm just running through these slides. It's a machinery guarding. So it's a boogie shifter guard. It's a full guarding. Both the drive and the non-end are guarded properly. The second one is that ID fan guarding for the hot water generator. Below that one, the fibromat guarding, all the sprockets, everything properly guarded. And that compressor also full guard has been provided. So we have upgraded the guards. And the second one is that work at height. So as I said earlier, any work at height means to work 2 meters above ground level. Any unprotected workplace that was 2 meters or more from ground level needs some form of edge protection, such as guardrail. So that is the as per the Factory Act. And we have made the roller safe platform. We have upgraded the guards. Earlier it was only a plank, and the operator has to do some circles to charge the leaf. Now we made a safe platform. On the right hand side is the checkout plate. All the moving parts are properly secured and covered. And below that, we provided the anti-slip guard for the ladders. So the reflector type grip, so he won't fall. Then other slide photo is a color sort of safe platform. The next one, the important one, Another important one is economic safety. The objective is to keep the people safe and healthy. The economic hazards can cause painful and disabling injuries. Heavy frequent lifting or repetitive tasks using excessive force, overexertion. So when they're doing 8 hours work continuously, then they may work 1 or 2 days and after that they become absent. So absenteeism also is a main challenge what we are facing in tea industry. So we are making so many steps for economic safety that they are safe and they will come for work regularly. This the right hand side, left hand side the Googie system. We have provided a rice tray, and the right hand side the within leaf collection trolleys. So the head loading is always the neck pain, back pain, all these things are happening and they're absenting at regularly. So we made the collection trolleys so that they can transport the leaf gently without any bend and other issues. This is the conveyor safety, another area where most of the accidents happening in the conveyors. Two things, what we identified is this conveyor mouth guarding is very important. Since the conveyors are running at very low RPM, if your tool got stuck in between the conveyor and the roller, the people have a tendency to clean by hand. So we are working in this machine for so many years. This friend of mine, it won't hazard me, it won't make any risk at me. Then they will put the hand with it. Within no time, the roller got the gun. So we have provided a full guard, both the conveyor mouth, bottom, top, and we covered with sheets so that no one can enter to that part. And below that, we put the pull cord switch for conveyors. Even something happen also, once we touch the rope, it will automatically trip. So if a person affected with it also, he can one hand he can stop the conveyor. This is a conveyor safety provider. The right hand side we have provided the remote switch control for rollers very nearby. And the bottom one is that roller starter. We demarcated the starters. Nothing should be kept in between the starter. And remote switch also provided for emergency. Next one is electrical safety. We have provided rubber mats for panel boards. This as per the IS and IE standards. And the right hand side is the ELCB for portable equipment. There is also very important equipment, the Earth's leakage circuit breaker. And the rating of the ELCB is 30 milliamps. A human being is able to sustain electric shock to the extent of 30 milliamps. After that, up to 10 milliamps, just evoke a prickling sensation, and after 30 milliamps, for further leading to a respiratory paralysis. So the response time and the rating of ELCB is very important. So we put 30 milliamps ELCB, and it will response time is 0.65 seconds. So current will always pass to the earth the least resistance path. So when you put the ELCB and the thing should be correct, as I said earlier, then it will trip automatically without passing the human body. It will automatically trip and safeguard the operator. And that second one is below is the earth rod for the HD line work. Earth rod should be used to earth the line where work is carried on. So it protects the worker from electrocution by earthing the electric supply. And the right hand side, the generator flywheel guarding also provided. This is a fire extinguishers. This is a hot water generator safety. We have put the pressure switch and safety valves. So the first line of protection is that pressure switch. So once it exceeds the set pressure, then it will electrically trip the system. And if the pressure switch fails to act, then the safety valve in action. So the healthiness of safety valves and pressure switch is checking at regular intervals and recorded. Below that one is the safety instructions. We have put the safety instructions and what is the key parameters, what is the temperature to be set, what is the pressure to be tested, and all these things are given training to the workers. And this is one of our CTC factory, the CTC rotor vane and chimney. In the CTC, all the chain are protected with secured with guards. and these rollers, the high speed and low speed rollers, also protected with the guards. And below this rotor vane. Here also, like the conveyors, most of the actions are happening in that rotor vane. About the Irish plate is 1/3 opening vane and resistance. So most of the time it may got jammed. But the people, since it's running at very low RPM, 35 to 36 RPM, people have a tendency to clean in a running rotor vane. So they put hand on that. So if any loose clothes or something is there, then it will immediately caught into the rotor vane. And especially in night time, people are used to sit above the rotor vane barrel. That is also not desirable, but all lead to major accidents. And this chimney is properly protected with chimney cover to prevent any unburned particles falling nearby the combustibles. These are the safety signages. I think time is over. Am I audible?
Yeah, you are.
Yes, you are.
I would like to take 5 more minutes. Is it okay, sir?
Yeah, we will be happy if you close a bit quickly. There are other speakers waiting.
Okay, thank you, sir. These are the safety signages, the emergency stair with both English and local language. There's a fire exit auto blow board, fire hose reel. There's a stairs. Stairs also, we have make sure that there's a 3-point contact, 2 feet and 1 leg. And another aspect is accident report. If any accidents happen, then any employee witnessing an incident is to call for emergency assistance. The employee is immediately reporting the incident to the supervisor. The supervisor immediately calling for ambulance and hospital assistance and notify to the manager and take part of the answering questions. The accident report will be prepared and immediately corrective action will be initiated. The incident will be discussed in the safety meeting. This is the accident details what you're following the format. So date of accident, natural accident, who was affected, what is the category, whether it is a lost time accident or is a medical treatment case, was a restricted work case, and what are the corrective action we have taken, what is the brief summary. So in the period 2019 to 23, we have witnessed LTA accident 8, extended work case 0, MTC 3 and minor injury 2. So we are working towards for 0 accident. These are the safety training sessions, the first aid training. There's that fire and rescue department demonstrating the fire extinguishers demo. There's a road safety training. There's occupational health and safety. With the fire hydrant hose reel, how to operate, the fire extinguisher demo. These are the training safety oath in muster daily. That's a OHS training. This is the fire mock drill. So the mock drill, we put a fire outside as a demo, and we blow the siren. The first side, left hand side, the workers are rushing towards a safe assembly area. And the second thing is the mustering. So the factory officer will take a muster, and he has to ensure that no one is trapped inside the factory and all the workers are present in the safe assembly area. Then we start the fire rescue operation. We start that ambulance and rescue operations are in place. So it is very important that once the workers have reached a safe assembly point, we take the muster and to make sure that no one is trapped inside the factory. This is the firefighting demo. This another one is the farm equipment trainings, the spraying machines, the pruning machines, and the mechanical harvester. Thank you, the trustee, for giving me an opportunity to share this basic safety what we are implemented across our factories. And thank you all for patiently listening my presentation. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Salman, for such a detailed and thorough presentation and some very insightful images from the field also. Thank you. Thanks a lot. We will now move on to the next speaker, Mr. Anshu Shukla from Amalgamated. So over to you, Mr. Shukla.
Thank you. Thank you, Dipanjan. May I request you to please share my presentation?
Of course, we'll do that. I hope it's visible to everybody.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Dipanjan. You can move to the next slide, please. Yeah, so first of all, thank you so much to the team at Trustee for giving me this opportunity. Although I must confess that our learned speakers before me have, provided such detailed presentations that my one will seem like a repetition going forward. But nonetheless, I would just like to, touch upon some aspects which may not have been touched upon adequately or just very briefly mentioned in the earlier presentations. Although more or less it's similar to what the earlier speakers have mentioned. And I would also like to take this opportunity to mention to everybody here, on the involvement of Mr. Basu, who has been a catalyst since at the turn of the century with regards to our organization for implementation of occupational health and safety and creating awareness amongst the workers. Of course, they were then Verde Ventures. Now they are Consultivo. So we go back a long way. And so without much ado, I'll just breeze through my presentation, whatever I have prepared. And needless to mention that workplace safety in the tea industry is a paramount concern. And us as employers, it is our responsibility to ensure that we take adequate steps to reduce the risk of incidents and maintain a safe working environment for our workers. So through this presentation, basically trying to shed some light on, the types of hazards that are there in the tea industry and the crucial safety measures in place, emphasizing the importance of training, education, and reporting of incidences to make the workplace safer for everyone. So here I'm trying to capture basically the learnings for APPL as an organization, and of course the measures that we have implemented going forward. It is of course work in progress. No one can say that it is something which we have completely managed to eradicate. So occupational health and safety also is something which is a challenge for the tea industry, and it is a behavior change exercise which will require time going forward. Could you move to the next slide, please? So hazards faced by the tea industry, the workers face several hazards, which of course have been touched upon by the earlier speakers. They are extreme weather conditions, and especially with the impact of climate change, which we all are seeing now, the extreme heat and spells of extreme cold and long spells of rain also lead to various health risks for our workers. Terrain challenges, needless to mention, tea is grown in high range areas, in low plain areas. So the risks there are already touched upon earlier. And of course, the plantations which are neighboring forests, we have seen a huge range of incidences regarding human-wildlife conflicts, which also poses a challenge for the tea plantations and the tea industry. Next slide, please. Chemical hazards, needless to mention, workers are exposed to pesticides and herbicides, and if proper handling is not done or care is not taken while spraying, it can lead to severe hazards. Of course, needless to mention the emphasis on the use of PPEs. As one of our speakers said, it should be the last step, but of course, seeing the present condition of the effect climate change is also having on pest management and pest infestations. So PPEs play a very important role in mitigating the hazards, and chemical residues which are left in the fields post the spraying activities, which need to be managed through, dedicated and stipulated re-entry intervals, which are also very well emphasized in the various certification standards that are implemented across the industry. Next slide, please. Biological hazards are also there, which many employees face: snake bites, stings from insects, which can transmit diseases and also cause allergic reactions. There are vector-borne diseases like malaria, dengue, and even viral fever now, which pose a significant risk to the plantation workers. Next slide, please. Ergonomic hazards have been touched upon in the earlier presentations. Injuries, musculoskeletal injuries that can be caused from heavy lifting, particularly during peak season times, and also due to repetitive movements, which can result in strains and overuse injuries. Next slide, please. Machinery and equipment, of course, tea processing machinery in the factories and pruning machines and mechanical harvesters that we use in the fields. If the workers are not properly trained or do not have adequate knowledge on the use of machineries, it can result in grave injuries. And of course, entanglement hazards. We had one incident in the tea industry in the recent past, which was very unfortunate. And more emphasis needs to be put on entanglement hazards to avoid such serious injuries going forward. Next slide, please. So psychosocial hazards is something which is very important now. It has been touched upon by Mr. Basu. And we also at APPL are feeling the need to address these sort of hazards, going forward, which are also, if may not be directly but indirectly affecting work productivity, etc. in the tea industry. So here, apart from the workload and the stresses, even isolation, going forward, another two important aspects that are taking hold or coming into the forefront now are incidences of sexual harassment at workplace, and also gender-based violence, which may not be at the workplace but may be at home, but they can have psychosomatic effects on the workers, and which will indirectly affect any activities at the workplace. So this is one area where we have started work at APPL with several partners. A few of them are there on this call, and we have realized the need for addressing these issues also, because mental health is something which is now coming into the forefront worldwide, and also should be considered as a hazard at workplace, because if the person is not mentally fit, he will not be able to deliver. And of course, distractions may lead to severe and grave injuries. And we have seen certain cases like that in close proximity as well. So this is an area where we feel is very, very important to start addressing, and the industry as a whole should start looking at mental health issues also as a form of a hazard, which going forward will play a very important role as far as the sustainability of the industry goes. May we move to the next slide, please? So of course, the various safety measures that we have implemented at APPL, starting off was with, of course, the formulation of a policy, occupational health and safety policy, so that not only the employees, but the various stakeholders who are engaged with us and partners are engaged with us are on the same page as far as, the awareness of the policy, and also of our commitment towards ensuring a safe workplace. Next step, of course, was conducting risk assessments, employee trainings. I will not elaborate on these since we have already, touched on them earlier, and in the interest of time, I'll just move forward fast. Provision of safety equipments. Needless to mention, without these, and particularly personal protective equipments, it is very difficult for workers to work in, to have safe working environments. The importance of having safe work practices, the establishment of SOPs, standard operating procedures, which explain the detail on how particular areas of work need to be attended to and how particular machines need to be worked upon, are also a very important aspect which we have worked on in a lot of detail. Communication of hazards. This is one area where, earlier just by means of training or verbal training, we realized that maybe the workers are not being able to understand. So now we moved on to the use of audiovisual methodologies to explain to the workers the importance of, the safety, and of course also on educating them on the various hazards and how they need to be mitigated. Can we move to the next slide, please? Emergency preparedness, as the saying goes in the army or the armed forces, that what you do during times of the preparedness that you have during times of peace will eventually determine the results during the time of war. So similarly, in our case also, the importance of preparedness of fire drills, evacuation drills, first aid trainings will go a long way, in mitigating any sort of hazard which happens instantly. Because just to give you a practical demonstration, during particular visits to the plantations where we've asked the workers just at the spur of the moment, okay, in case there is a fire out here, what are you going to do? So instant reaction is we are going to run, so that doesn't solve the problem, because that particular worker will run. What about the rest? So that is why emergency preparedness on how to react at the time of the incident is very, very important. Regular inspections, of course, to determine the safety of the buildings, of the workplace, of the equipment is very important. Reporting mechanisms need to be in place which are simple and also confidential in nature, because as touched upon by the earlier learned speakers, in case many times workers or people are afraid to even report any kind of incidents. So if you have an element of confidentiality which is there with the system of reporting, then definitely people will be much more upfront in reporting safety incidences. The importance of safety committees have been touched upon. So here at APPL also, we have various committees which have been trained and given the responsibility for implementation of various safety and other initiatives, also safety and social initiatives also. And reporting is of course done on a monthly basis. And safety culture, as it's already been imbibed upon earlier, and we also make sure that safety culture is a very important aspect of our journey on the occupational health and safety. Next slide, please. Health and wellness also go a long way. So we are promoting employee health and well-being through various welfare programs, also which indirectly address physical and mental health issues. Compliance, needless to mention, the several laws that are in place, local, regional, and national safety regulations and standards, which we have implemented, along with several certifications that are there existing within the organization, which help in monitoring and also continuous improvement, providing continuous improvement, which we learn through regular updations of the safety policies as well as procedures and assessments. Recording of trainings, inspections, incidents, and corrective actions is another very important aspect, because we have our partners also who are there and who are very, very particular about occupational health and safety, which is a very, very significant criteria for their investments within the organization. And reporting on these is done in a very comprehensive manner, whereby not only fatalities but lost time injuries, lost time injury frequency rates, etc., have to be reported to them periodically. So and none of this, of course, is possible without the management commitment, particularly top management commitment, because this has to be a top-down driven approach. And keeping the communication channels clear and open also help in conveying safety related information and updates given to the workers. Like many a times when you speak to workers regarding usage of PPEs during spraying, the instant reaction is that our grandfathers or our fathers never used it, why should we use it? So here again, giving them the importance of giving examples, like even earlier, there were no seat belts used in cars, but now why do people wear seat belts? So why do the motorcyclists or two-wheeler drivers wear helmets? Because these are learnings which have come across. So like I said earlier, it is all exercises of behavior change, and behavior change takes time. So no amount of trainings is adequate or enough as far as safety is concerned, and we need to keep on and on and on till such time these things don't become a habit for our employees. Next slide, please. Training and education, of course, go a long way in number one, making us aware of the risk mitigation activities. It helps in providing safety awareness, skill development also to the various operators who know how to handle the machineries, chemicals, and even first aid, and being able to respond adequately during any emergencies that are there. Compliance is, of course, help the worker in operating the machine in a safety manner and also abiding by the safety regulations which have been put in place by the government and internal through the certifications. It helps also in reducing the downtime because a well-trained employee is less likely to make mistakes, as compared to somebody who's been just recently appointed. And also, of course, it goes a long way in improvement of employee well-being, which we have discussed earlier, because overall job satisfaction, and of course, Mr. Bhuiya has also touched on this topic during his introduction. Next slide, please. Reporting incidents, of course, what we have learned is reporting incidents is very, very important, especially having a confidentiality element helps in, receiving more of such reports coming in from various aspects and various areas of work also within the tea plantation. And how they have helped us is basically because we are able to make an early intervention if the incidents are reported promptly. And this also helps us going forward in taking adequate steps to prevent injuries, from such occurrences which may happen. The learnings that we get from this also help us in preventing reoccurrences by implementing corrective actions which are permanent in nature. These also help us in complying with the various legal and regulatory compliances. So when we have inspections of the factory inspectors or the plantation inspectors, they are able to see that, yes, there is action that has been taken on the ground and the organization is complying with all the legal requirements. And last but not the least, of course, the safety culture goes a very long way in ensuring safety and, the drive towards zero accident or zero incident within the workplace. Next slide, please. So in conclusion, I would like to say that workplace safety is something which is very crucial for the well-being of our employees. And to take a quote from the trustee code itself, version 3, a safe work environment is a less stressful work environment. So a happy worker means a happy organization. A happy organization means a sustainable organization. With that, I would like to end my presentation. Thank you very much. And of course, any questions, I'd be happy to answer during the Q&A session. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Shukla, and very well said. Thank you for such a detailed presentation on the safety aspect. Thank you. Thank you for your time. We'll now move on to our last speaker, Mr. Subhrojit Bezbora from Mokalwadi Group. Sir, if you can just, would you like to?
I'll start sharing from here only. Hello.
So it's visible, we can hear you.
Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible. You need to increase the screen size a bit.
Like that.
Slides are too small.
Good afternoon to all. I am Subhrojit Bezbora, representing Mokalwadi Tea Group. And today we delve into a topic close to our hearts: safety in Assam tea estates. Basically,
sorry to interrupt you. Can you increase the size of the slide, because that formatting is such only a very small picture is visible. So you can disable the notes section because the notes are there. So the slide is
right. Okay, I'll just check it out. नहीं, slide कर दीजिए, slide कर. ये हटा दीजिए ना.
Yeah, now this is fine. Yeah.
Okay, the first slide highlights the crucial aspects of why safety matters in our tea industry. Now, let's start with the well-being of our workforce. Our dedicated workforce forms the heart and soul of our estates. Without their tireless efforts, the tea we produce wouldn't be possible. Ensuring their safety is not just a responsibility, it's a pledge we uphold. Next, we encounter environmental challenges. Assam's geography is unique and beautiful, but it also presents natural challenges which we must confront. From varying weather conditions to the challenging wildlife, we must be vigilant in our safety efforts. Now, after that is the ethical responsibility, which is a core principle we stand by. Safeguarding our employees isn't just a legal obligation for us, it's a moral duty we take seriously. This trust in our commitment to their well-being drives us forward. Lastly, industrial reputation reminds us that our safety measures don't just benefit us, they contribute to our tea industry's global reputation. We take pride in being leaders in safety, setting an example for the entire industry. Next slide. These are the hazards which we have identified, or potential hazards, in our tea estates. We dive into the process of identifying potential hazards within our tea estates. This knowledge is crucial in our quest for a safer workplace. Let's begin with natural factors. Assam's natural beauty comes with its share of challenges. The weather, terrain, and wildlife all can pose risks. It's vital we remain vigilant and proactive in understanding and mitigating this. Occupational factors comes next. Machinery and equipment are integral to our operations, but they can also present dangers. Regular inspections, maintenance, and proper training are essential to ensure that these tools remain assets rather than liabilities. Human factors are equally significant. Training and behavior are key components of a safe workplace. Training ensures our employees are equipped with the knowledge and skills to handle their tasks safely. Encouraging responsible behavior among our workforce is equally vital. The identification of these potential hazards is not just a one-time task. It's an ongoing commitment to safety. It's about continuous improvement and evolving our practices to keep our tea estates safe for all. As we move forward in this presentation, we will explore how we proactively address these hazards and work towards a safe and more secure work environment for everyone. Next. In the tea industry, field operations play a critical role, accounting for approximately 80% of our total deployment. However, these operations are often subject to the influence of various natural factors. Today, we will address these factors and discuss the steps we have taken to mitigate potential risks. Next. One such factor is fall in the drains, which might hurt ours, especially when a worker or a plucker crosses a big drain. There is a risk of the plucker falling down. So for that, we have provided culverts and slabs with handrails so that the support is there for them to cross the drain. Another thing is rain and sunlight. As such, Mr. Shukla has just delved on the matter about extreme weather conditions. And for rain, we are providing them the protective listing of umbrellas. And sunlight, of course, the umbrellas come into play. And at times there are hailstorms. once or twice in a year, for which we have given them training, and they are supposed to gather themselves at work site near a women inside the women's shed. Next. Though rare, earthquakes require preparedness. All workers have been trained to exit the sections and seek shelter in open areas during. There are marked assembly points too. On snake bite, though all precautionary measures are taken, still very rarely one odd instance happens where immediately after giving first aid, ambulance is called and the affected person is sent to the hospital for further treatment. Next. Next, this one. As you can see here, all emergency contact numbers are being displayed in the work sites for any emergency. If anything happens, these numbers can be contacted and medical attention is immediately with the affected person. In cold weather, especially when the pruning operations takes place, some people are pruning with their hands, knives, and some people are doing mechanized pruning. So for mechanized pruning, adequate and complete PPEs are given so that the risk factor is minimized, and all have been given adequate training to use the machines. And there's a supervisor for every 20 to 25 workmen who always carries a first aid kit with him for any emergency minor injuries. Next slide. Now, next. We now come to occupational factors, machinery, equipment, and agrochemicals. As we delve deeper into our commitment to safety with Assam's tea estates, we must address various occupational factors that profoundly impact the well-being of our dedicated workforce. This segment specifically highlights the safe handling of machinery, equipment, and agrochemicals. Basic protection. Next. In the recent past, several incidents in the estates have been reported. This was taken very seriously by our management, and we delved into the matter to know reasons responsible for it, and the results found were startling. The primary cause, especially in the factories, was found to be workers being under the influence of alcohol while at work. To avoid such a situation, we have made it mandatory for our factory workers to undergo a breath analysis test. And only those workers are engaged who work who pass this test. Management is committed to ensure a safe environment for work, for which we regularly do inspection of our plant and machinery. All workers are continuously trained to ensure the safety at workplace. Next. Sorry. All movable machinery parts are fully guarded, and no loose clothing is allowed for personnel who is operating a machine. All workmen in the factory are provided with complete PPEs, and the management ensures that risk of accident is minimized to the extent possible. Adequate fire extinguishers and fire buckets are strategically placed to avoid any fire hazard. Training and mock drills are carried out with the workers for their awareness. a proper fire evacuation plan is in place, and an emergency plan is displayed at the factory main gate. The management of Mokulbari Group is very concerned on the ill effects of agrochemicals on human beings. For this, the group avoids using any hard chemicals and basically resort to cultural and biological practices. As you can see, next please. As you can see, this is a pictorial of issue of agrochemicals from chemical stores of the garden. In this slide, we are showing you how we spray our chemicals with full protective gear. Next. Our commitment to safety extends beyond the physical aspect of our operations. Human factors, particularly training and behavior, are integral to our safety culture. We, the management of Mokulbari Group, are committed to ensure a safe and healthy environment for our workers. To ensure this, various awareness trainings are periodically being conducted so that we can zero in on the possibility of any untoward incident happening in our estate. This is a continuous process, and we are committed to keep on improving as time goes by. Next. We collaborate with local regulatory bodies to avail health benefits for our workers. Since our workforce are the heart of our organization, we feel that they have to be in a safe environment to work. Ultimately, my conclusion is that we as Mokulbari Group have taken the matter of safety of workers very seriously and are committed to better it in future. In this regard, we are also very thankful to organizations like Trustee, who has guided us in this process. Thank you all for giving me this opportunity to address the esteemed gathering and giving me a patient hearing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bezbora, for a wonderful presentation on the work, on the safety of workplace. We'll now move on to the next agenda in the webinar, the safety risk assessments. So, would you like to?
Yes. Thank you, Dipanjan. We are at the end of the presentation for today. And we would like to first of all acknowledge that we had excellent so that's the first thing that I would like to talk about. And many of the topics which are of major importance to all of us have been covered by most of the speakers who have taken the trouble of collating their thoughts of the webinar. Nonetheless, I would like to take you through what I had planned, and I will therefore definitely skip topics which have been elaborated upon earlier. So, basic discussion, and I will not go into too much of complexity, because if you see the name of my slide, I am trying to simplify and demystify this whole business of hazards, risks, identification, analysis. So sometimes we get overwhelmed by the terms, but if we look at it from a simple human angle, you'll realize that these scientific terms are part of our life every day. So the best example is rainfall. So if you want to go out for a walk, for example, and you look at the sky and you see some clouds and you think that, oh, it's going to rain. So this is what is a risk. So there's a risk of rain. So that's a human instinctive thing. So you will definitely take an umbrella and go out so that you are protected from the risk. Now, what is the hazard there? Now, if you didn't take the umbrella, you will get wet, maybe you'll fall sick, or you may be hit by lightning, which again is something which is of the extreme nature of the risk. So these are the hazards. What would happen to you if you venture without preparation? Now the third important part, if you focus attention on this photograph, fortunately I could find so many safety related lessons in this photograph. So the first thing that you can see, he is protected in the sense he's carrying an umbrella and he has a raincoat and he's wearing a pair of boots. So he's adequately protected. But then the problem here is the behavior. So you can see that the umbrella is on the side and he's playing on the puddles and therefore increasing the risk. So risks and hazards have to be always looked at from the human angle. Your interaction and your thought process is what impacts what safety happens, and we'll talk more about it. So now, having said this, so we say there's a risk of rain and the hazard is that you get wet and maybe you fall sick and then you protect yourself with an umbrella. So the term risk and hazard is something that we need to discuss, in the right way. So hazard is something that has the potential to cause you harm. Like you go out when there is a storm and there is a lightning and you'll get, hit by the lightning. So that's a hazard. But the risk is like it's going to happen. So you don't know. So that lightning may fall on you, fall on the nearby tree. So we must always understand that when we analyze things, we look at hazard as something which is going to cause harm, and the risk is something which is likely to happen. So going back to the child for rain, he probably saw it's going to rain, that's a risk, and he took an umbrella. I hope these definitions are clear because I'll not go too much into the technicalities of one speaker. Spoke about HERA. We'll touch very briefly at the end because we are ahead of time now. But we must be very clear on these definitions. What is a hazard and what is a risk? The other important thing in the world of people safety are the definitions of what happens and occurs in a workplace. So there are three very important terms. So one is near miss. So we'll be hearing about this a lot. A near miss is an event that could have occurred but didn't happen, right? So it's like you were walking and you saw that the path is slippery and you could have slipped, but you did not slip. So that's a near miss. Now, incident is something which has happened unintentionally, means you did not plan to slip. Like the gentleman you can see in the red triangle here, you did not plan to slip, but you slipped. So that's an incident. But then the incident that happened, like this person slipped, and if he doesn't fall, so the person slips on a slippery floor, but the person doesn't fall, and therefore that's a near miss. It's an incident. He did slip, but he didn't fall. Now, if he falls and he gets injured, so that becomes an accident. So a near miss, an incident, an accident are in that hierarchy that you could have had an accident because the conditions were unsafe. That's a near miss. An incident is that you actually an event occurred, but then no harm was done. So you just slipped, could regain your balance and you kept on walking. An accident is when you actually fell down and you got injured. So these are the three terms which are very important in the world of safety, and when we make the plans for safety program in our units. Now, people have spoken a lot about reasons. One of the easy ways to look at is what is known as 5M. So 5M is, one is human, that is the M you can see here, that is human, that is the lack of knowledge or a casual approach or psychology or behavior. M is method. The second M is not following the procedure, taking shortcuts, not creating safe workplaces and conditions. That's the work method. The third M is machinery. So is unsafe design, lack of maintenance, modifications after installation. Material, this is the quality. You get bad tools, bad quality parts or bad quality of electricals. And then the final one, but very important, is management. So people spoke about management priorities. So management lacks knowledge, safety is not a priority, they don't allot resources, they don't follow up corrective preventive action. So these are the 5 M's which lead to an accident, and these are primarily found to be the reason why accidents occur. Now these accidents, if you look at the 5 factors that I've said on 5M, they may be in isolation, that an accident occurs because of one of these, or more dangerously, an accident could occur through a combination of many of these. So we must keep in mind that all 5 of them may be applicable to an accident, one could be applicable. So when we analyze the reasons, we must find out why. Now, all these things, the impact is, as I said, is driven by human behavior. In the world of occupational health and safety, now the magic bullet to achieve consistent safe workplace is what is the process known as behavior-based safety. And as I said in the beginning, behavior-based safety places people at the heart of the program. Because we think that if we want a sustained safety environment, and many speakers touch upon the sustainability of the practices, then it is only possible by modulating human behavior and eliminating unsafe behavior. So we must understand that whatever safety programs we make, human behavior is something that we must keep in mind and factor in. So even if you have provided a guard to a rotating machinery, right? Now someone decides to find the guard is loose and he puts his hand inside even when we have a guard. Then that is the behavioral thing. So behavior is the one which actually is behind almost all these accidents. Management attitude is also behavior. So behavior safety today is considered as what is called the holy grail. Now behavior-based safety is almost simple, and it's as simple as ABC, I would like to say. So it looks at activators, what activates accidents. It's the behavior, how you deal and how you behave in your day-to-day work. And the third is the consequence. So we must always keep behavior and how people will interact with these reasons in mind when we design a safety program and when we design training programs. Moving on to the next slide. Yeah, I don't know what was the topic. Yeah. So we are saying risks are everywhere, and risks are literally lurking at all corners, and we have risks from the natural world. I wanted to touch upon it because we are tracking safety incidents across that industry, and we do find a lot of incidents of this either at the workplace or near the residences. So risks from the natural world are extreme weather events like storms, floods, heatwaves, chilly weather, landslides, and risks like animals, insects, snakes. So when we do a risk assessment and identification, we must keep these natural world as a part of the plan. And in taking this, we should now look at various steps to try and create a preventive scenario for risk. So we should take inputs from experts in animal behavior, involvement of the local community. We have now technology solutions. Many of them are installing tracking devices, CCTV cameras, or using drones. Then we must work very closely with our neighborhood forest authorities. And of course, we must train the workers on what is the outcome of this. But it is time to put the natural world-based risks into center stage in our planning. Our thought on risks should come out of factories and key growing areas. One speaker spoke about it. This is the safety pyramid, and I love to show it against the iceberg because the iceberg always hides more than it shows. And these are established statistics that for every 3 lakh unsafe conditions, you have 30,000 near misses. For every 30,000 near misses, you have 300 lost time accidents, and it is followed by 30 serious injuries, and then finally you have a fatality. Which means 300,000 unsafe conditions are bound to lead to a fatality if we do not take actions to make these conditions safe. And these are proven numbers in the world of safety. So it is very important to track the conditions, and the conditions can be tracked by being at the place where these incidents might occur. So this is what the Japanese call the Gemba. Gemba is where the place of action. And you go around, all of you go around the workplace in the morning, that's what they call the Gemba walk. Now the Gemba walk, if you bring a focus to the walk around the factory or the garden, So today you are walking around the factory, you think today I think I will see what are the safety things as I'm going around. If you bring a purpose to the walk around, then we have a very good opportunity of adding value to the safety program. So there's a 5-step approach to hazard identification, and we have to ask these questions. As I said, the purpose of my presentation is to simplify and demystify this animal called Hira. Toykot mentioned the word Hira. But you know, we should understand that it's not something which is rocket science. It's very simple. It comes from just asking a few questions. So you look at something and you say, could this potentially cause an incident? You look at it, you speak to the people around the place, and you think, oh, yeah, it could cause it. And then you go to the next question. What is the type of risk that could happen? You could get electric shock, or you could fall, or anything. And then what is the level and likelihood? Like, is this incident going to be catastrophic? One of the speakers showed the photograph of a chimney, right? Where you had the chimney ladder protected with a cage. Now imagine a chimney ladder with no cage and the person climbs up without any protection and it falls from the top. It could be catastrophic, right? So the person will definitely. So we should look at the likelihood and what is the level of the impact that this would have on us. The other 2 steps here, and I'm just trying to tell you that when you look at hazard identification, you say we need an expert consultant. We don't need. We just need to ask questions. That's all, and ask very simple questions and ask questions of the people who are part of that process of operation. If you have a diesel generator person operating the diesel generator, sit with him and you ask these questions. Look, do you think this could cause an incident? What is the risk? What is the level of likelihood? And you just note it down. And the outcome of that after prioritization is what is this famous document called HIRA. Now, once we know and we know the hazard and the risk, then we ask the question, what measures I'll take to stop this? And someone spoke about the hierarchy of controls. We speak about that. So I could eliminate, I could prevent, I could reduce. And then after I have done all of this, I must review. Because the spirit of continuous improvement is what we know, the famous Deming cycle of PDCA. So you must do plan, do, check, and then act. And again, plan, do, check, and act to create a situation of continuous improvement. So we must review what we have done. And one speaker spoke about conditions changing. A brand new machine versus a machine operating for 5 years, the risks are different. So the risks identified when you commission the machine will no longer be the risks after 5 years. So there is a dynamic nature to the risks and the actions, and we cannot have one action plan which is hardbound and pasted somewhere. It will not work. So the Gemba walk, the walk on the scene of action, it's very important to continuously review and upgrade the safety measures. So once you have asked all these 5 questions, you look at action. So what action do you take? The best one is eliminate, completely remove the risk. So if a machine is having a risk, you tell your manager, want this machine. So the risk will go, but practically most of the time it doesn't happen. So elimination is one. Substitution by a safer one. So you have a machine which is unsafe, but you can have a safer option, better safety situation. So then management might, substitute. Then you have engineering control, which are very common. You have like MCBs. Everybody knows MCBs because we use it in a house where there's a breaker. That's an engineering control. If there's a short circuit, then the breaker stops and prevents harm to the system as well as the establishment. So that's the engineering control, right? Then we have administrative controls, right? And policies, many people speak of policies and processes and controls and management. Then your work practices, very important. Standard operating procedures, maintenance, training. So these are the controls. And where do you place these controls? So that's very important. Controls are effective when positioned at the right place. Let's say there's a factory where there are 5 rotating machineries operated by 5 workers. Now, training is given to the manager of that factory how to do safe operation of rotating machine. But the manager does not pass on this training to the person who operates the machinery. So the control measure that you have taken of providing training is not effective because the control measure is not applied where it is needed. So if we want to control the risk from the rotating machinery, we have to train the person who actually stands near and operates the machine. So as I said here, very important, at the people deployment positions, trainings, risk assessment and actions coming out of risk can never be kept in a file, in a folder. It is very important that every person who is at risk is the person who receives the training, who gives you inputs on the deployment of the controls, and you need to understand and review. So we put the controls at the source where the hazard comes from and along the path where the hazard travels. So someone talk of a conveyor travels a long way from one section of the factory to the other. So the hazard from the conveyor belt actually travels all along of the belt, right? Or if there's a tractor lorry carrying leaves from the garden to the factory, the risk of the tractor having an accident travels along with the tractor. So some risks are stationary, some are dynamic. That also needs to be considered. And then there's a simple decision-making tree that when you see a hazard, you look at, is there a likelihood of this occurring? It's a risk, then you use the hazard risk form which you have developed. You can use any other method also, and then, or you decide we need action, so you create the action. Or if there's an effective remedial control already available, no action is required, so no need to use the hazard form. It's a simple management to do work to do. And therefore, the entire gamut of safety program runs on three things. One is, per se, the Gemba being at the scene of action, communication with the person who is at the risk, and then consulting people with sufficient knowledge to create the right remedial action to remove the hazard and to give the training. So these are the three things that we need to do to create a very safe workplace. We have created a simple form called the hazard risk form. In the presentation, we have actually exceeded time. So, and then of course there is this famous animal called HIRA, the hazard identification and risk analysis. Now, outcome of all those questions have to be populated into a form, and you can have various scales. I saw one speaker, Mr. Salman, had a two item scale. You can have 5 items, 4 items, depending on how elaborate you want to be. You can look at potential threat, vulnerability, impact, and you multiply all of that, and this is the maximum. It's 5 into 5 times is 625. And then based on the outcome, because management cannot ever do all hazard mitigation at the same time. HIRA gives us the opportunity to prioritize action, to understand how to manage that, looking at the severity. As I said, the person walking up the chimney and falling down from the top of the chimney, that hazard of that work at height is less than person who climbs up a small ladder and cleans the cobweb from the roof. That is also a risk. That's a fall risk. The chimney is also a fall risk. But the severity of the fall from a ladder for versus severity of falling from the top of a 200-meter chimney is very different. So we need to prioritize the corrective actions and the hazard risk and identify risk, and this famous thing called HIRA helps us to prioritize and put our systems into process. Now we will be working with the entities to refine and create better risk analysis forms, and it's a very standard process. So it's not only for safety. If you look at the version 3 of the standard, we are asking for risk analysis for food. We are looking at risk analysis for environmental protection. So the process of identifying risk anchored to asking these 5 questions and then collating those answers and creating an output template is same for anything. So whether you have food safety risk, you have environmental risk, you have health and safety risk, the 5-step process of asking 5 simple questions at the Gemba where the work happens is the standard process. So this is the simplified way in which we can look at it, and that's why I deliberately kept that HIRA form at the end, because that form looks a bit daunting. But if you look at the back end and ask the right questions, then it is just an outcome of the discussion and it gets demystified. So that is all that I have to say, and I'm very happy to see that there was a very good participation today. And I must thank those who are still standing. We have 76 people still standing. They deserve my thanks to be standing now. And I must put in a very special order of thanks to the speakers. Each one of them brought in such a different perspective to what we wanted. If people are willing and there are questions, please share that. Dipanjan, can you share your email?
Yes.
Dipanjan is sharing his email. I'm sorry we are not able to take live questions because we did exceed the time. And our intention was to have more and more industry people, and I mean, I can't call Shoykot an external speaker. He's also part of the industry in any case. But yes, and just to tell that Trustee is focusing on prevention, we are focusing on upstream action, and I'm sure all of you will work together to create a safe workplace for the industry. So thank you very much. And Dipanjan has shared his mail ID on the chat box. We will put all the presentations with due permissions onto the public domain for people to refer on our website. And the recording will be available in our YouTube site, which is called Trustee Communication. Thank you very much. Thank you for participating and have a good day.